America. I'm Beowulf Rockland. FacepalmAmerica.com is where you can go to get more information about the show. There has been a very interesting piece of news in the presidential election, and to discuss that, I wanted to invite back on the program Marianne Williamson. She's a best-selling author, political activist, spiritual thought leader, and Democratic candidate for president. You can find out more about her at Marianne2024.com. Marianne Williamson, welcome to Facepalm America. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So you have announced the relaunch of your presidential campaign. Why did you decide to do this, and why did you choose this moment to do it?
Well, when I suspended my campaign, it was because I was losing the horse race. And what I've experienced in all this is that there are two distinctly different spheres of activity. One is this maelstrom of humanity that's really very moving, actually talking to the American people, experiencing a real nobility and intelligence and decency in the American people. And it's an experience that deepens your conviction that it's true, that the only safe repository for power is in the hands of the people, and makes you realize that if the will of the people was honestly and fairly expressed through our elected representatives, that this country would be okay. And you actually see this in poll after poll. The majority of Republicans as well as Americans want Medicare for all. The majority of Republicans as well as Democrats want tuition-free college and tech school. The American people are a little bit left of center.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one universe of experience. And then there's another. And the other one is the American political system. What is in essence a big business.
Right.
And it includes media. It's political media industrial complex, I call it.
Yeah.
It is corrupt on levels that I think would actually shock the American people.
Yeah.
It is a multi-billion-dollar business interest. Yeah. And trying to fight that, it has become, at least on the level of presidential politics, and much worse than even 4 years ago, in my experience. It's old Tammany Hall style politics. Yeah. It is small groups of people. It's an oligarchic system, just like the rest of our society, because it's part of the larger corporate oligarchy that control.
Yeah, it is kind of Tammany Hall just reworked for the digital age, isn't it? It's amazing how corrupt it can be, and yet seems so sophisticated on the surface. You have so many, on either side, whether you're talking about Democrats or Republicans, so many political consultants, political strategists, so many media buys, and it really does constitute a massive business, which every election cycle is pouring tons and tons of money into the media in order to try and get a specific result. And
that's exactly right.
It presents itself as a political process, but you're right. It really is a business process, right. Isn't it?
And it's not only the money they spend. They will kick people off ballots. Yeah. They will smear people, psyops. It's dark. So on that level, they beat me. On that level, I'm out. They made that clear from the beginning. There would be no primary. They made it clear, we will get you out of this conversation, and they did. So I suspended my campaign because, obviously the delegate hole is such, if you make a whole bunch of 3%, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
But then after I dropped out, and I continued to see what is happening in this country, which in my opinion is a slow motion car crash.
Yeah.
We are like lemmings walking to the sea. We are simply watching an unfoldment where there's an increasing sense of inevitability that Donald Trump will be president. I thought to myself, this is not going to happen without my knowing, and I would think that this is what every conscious American is thinking. I am willing to do on any given day whatever it takes to in any way increase the possibility that we will turn this thing around. And I don't believe that we will if Joe Biden is our nominee. And that's why I got back in the race.
Absolutely, and that is such a danger, and it's one that I think even the DNC nominally understands, because they say, well, we got to be Donald Trump, and we want the best candidate, a strong, viable candidate, in order to make sure that we do that and that we don't, slip into an authoritarian state. I'm wondering, Michigan seems to have been a big turning point here. What did the results of the primary there tell you about what members of the Democratic Party want and what the American people want from their president? Because, Joe Biden has been celebrating a 75% primary victory in which he was essentially uncontested. And that's not really much of a victory when you think about it.
So you're talking about Michigan when you asked me what did it tell me?
That's right, yeah.
So the uncommitted campaign, I think, was good because it was Arab Americans and Muslim Americans flexing their political muscles.
Right.
This is always good because this is democracy. I've been for a ceasefire from the very beginning. I had asked when I was there, and I know Cenk Uygur has talked to them quite a bit about this.
Yeah.
I had asked, in terms of himself, well, why did you choose to go with a hashtag rather than a human being who stands for ceasefire now? And the response I received was that it was more unifying. So that's good. I mean, it's what they chose, and it does not surprise me that it had popularity, because I've been out there for 10 months, and I know when I actually talk to people, when a conversation is not squelched, the American people are ready to do differently. Remember, 70% of the American people, a vast majority of the Democrats, have made it clear that Joe Biden is not their idea of the best person to be president next month. Right. I mean, in 2024, right. Next month, meaning in their elections.
Right.
So that does not surprise me, but it was not the decisive factor for me. Listen, the ultimate goal here is not to say what we're uncommitted to. It is to say what we are committed to. Right. Andy Levin, the former congressman who was in charge of the uncommitted campaign, one of the leaders of it, said that it was the best thing he could think of to help President Biden. So it was a message to President Biden that he must change policies in order to win Michigan in 2024. My goal is not just to help President Biden. My goal is to give people an opportunity to replace him as the nominee. Yeah. We need to do more than uncommit. We need to commit to a far better world and a far better direction for America. Yes, we need to commit to ceasefire now. We also need to commit to Medicare for all. We also need to commit to subsidized childcare and tuition-free college and tech school. We need to commit to a climate emergency. We need to commit to an entire repudiation of America's forever war machine. We need to commit to a Department of Children and Youth. We need to commit to an entire economic Bill of Rights and an economic U-turn in order to restore the middle class in this country. So it's good that the energy has been displayed on the part of people, that the Biden anointment is not satisfactory. However, now we need to move from hashtag to human being. Pick your candidate, whoever that might be, who would lead the charge of commitment to a far better, to a repaired democracy and a far better country.
I think that the list of items, that you enumerate are so important. We're talking about Medicare for all. We're talking about, free college tuition, and those things are so critical, and they have an impact in so many people's lives day to day, and yet they don't seem, when it comes to the halls of power within the Democratic Party, let alone the Republican Party at this point, to have a resonance. Do you see that changing at all? I suppose if you had seen it changing at all, you probably wouldn't have decided to relaunch your presidential campaign.
It will not change without a revolution at the ballot box.
Yeah.
The status quo is one in which undue financial influence of corporate America has turned Washington into a system of legalized bribery. Yeah. And I know from running myself how the system is rigged. It's rigged so that only those either with vast amounts of wealth or access to people with vast amounts of wealth get anywhere near the pinnacles of power. So the reason that Washington does not pass policies that serve the average American is because so few average Americans are there. And I can tell you from my own race, they will do whatever it takes to make sure that someone who is not a member of their club
and it
doesn't get in. And if they, we see in time and time again as well, if someone gets in that does not serve those corporate masters, they're liable to have a hard time once they're there.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very tightly controlled membership list in that club.
That's exactly right.
We're speaking with Marianne Williamson. She is a best-selling author, political activist, spiritual thought leader, and Democratic candidate for president. You can find out more at marianne2024.com. There are a lot of people that I speak to that focus on President Biden's age as a reason for not wanting him to run. For me, it has always been about the fact that he is, frankly, too conservative and not willing to meet the fundamental needs from that list that you've enumerated, that the American people have expressed again and again that they want. Where do you stand on that? I mean, age comes up again and again. How important is that for you versus his actual policies?
Well, people age in different ways. I think Bernie Sanders isn't he roughly the same age?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not just someone's age, but it's all kinds of aspects related to their life force, to their vitality, to their mental, their cognitive ability, as well as everything else. Of course, it's not a surprise that people watch him forget the names of European leaders, talks about Helmut Kohl rather than about Angela Merkel, talks about Mitterrand rather than Macron, and Mitterrand and Kohl are both dead and gone. So I don't know if Kohl is dead, actually, but I know he's no longer dead.
No, he is. Right.
So, of course, people are concerned about it. However, for myself, the main significance of that is that, number one, I think it makes him a far weaker candidate, and we do need to defeat Donald Trump in 2024. And beyond that, I agree with you. I'm most concerned about the fact that he would veto a Medicare for all bill. I'm most concerned by the fact that he is just saying yes to whatever Bibi Netanyahu wants. I'm most concerned about the fact that he perpetuates a system in which there is an effort to ameliorate the stress of people who are living at the effects of an unjust economy. What he is not seeking to do is to end the injustice. What he's not seeking is fundamental economic reform. We have 39% of Americans who now say that they regularly skip meals in order to pay their rent.
Yeah.
We have over half of our bankruptcies are from medical bills, and 1 in 4 Americans live with medical debt. A majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. A majority report chronic economic anxiety. A majority could not afford a $500 unexpected expenditure. 600,000 people are homeless every night. Over 1 million people rationing their insulin. These are the reasons why I think that we need someone else as president. And it's also that I believe that nothing short of a radical commitment to a light-filled future and a restoration of America's middle class will be enough to defeat Donald Trump in this election. Donald Trump has a cult-like personality.
Yeah.
He is a cult leader, and he is a political cult leader. We've seen them in history before. These people are dangerous. He is a dangerous man. And the idea that we're going to put up as an alternative to him someone who cannot even tell you what he's running on other than to finish the job, who cannot even tell you what he's running on except vague argument that the economy is doing well, when in fact for 80% of Americans it surely is not. People need to, I believe, awaken to this was all the machinations of the DNC that did not let us have a robust primary. There are